Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know. First, ByteDance's $22 billion AI chip plan taps Samsung to bypass US sanctions, securing scarce HBM memory. We'll analyse why this dual-track strategy is a turning point and how it could affect the competitive dynamics of the global AI chip supply chain. Second, Amazon Ring's AI dog finder sparks mass surveillance fears, connecting its vast camera network to law enforcement via flock safety. This discussion will reveal how an opt-out pet feature connects to a broader surveillance infrastructure and what it means for the future of privacy. Third, tech workers at Google and Microsoft allege a culture of fierce silences, dissent on government contracts, a reversal from past activism. So we'll discuss why this silence matters and what it means for tech worker activism when immigration status and mass layoffs shift the power dynamic. Fourth, AI startups use bizarre stunts like lassoing the Wall Street bull to stand out in a market where 73% are just OpenAI wrappers. We'll explore how this land grab mentality, fueled by massive funding, could signal a tech bubble, transforming venture capital and startup marketing strategies. Fifth, Dassault Systèmes' 21% stock crash signals a SaaS apocalypse as investors fear new AI tools will disrupt the entire enterprise software market. In this episode, we'll break down this massive sell-off and what it signals for the traditional software-as-a-service business model facing an AI-native threat. The story begins with a decision that caught everyone by surprise. TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is reportedly making a massive power play in the global chip war, and it's in talks with a titan, Samsung, to build its secret weapon. Now, you might be asking, why Samsung? Well, the biggest name in advanced chip manufacturing is TSMC in Taiwan. However, US export controls have made it very difficult for TSMC to supply cutting-edge chips to Chinese companies. Samsung, you see, is emerging as a powerful alternative. They're not only competitive, but are also aggressively pushing new technologies like their gate-all-around transistor design, which promises better performance and power efficiency. For a company like ByteDance, partnering with Samsung is a savvy geopolitical move to sidestep those restrictions. According to sources, the plan is to produce at least 100,000 of its own custom AI chips this year alone, with a goal to ramp that number up to 350,000. This isn't just about building a new processor. The reported negotiations with Samsung also include critical access to scarce memory chip supplies, a huge advantage in the AI infrastructure build-out. If you've been with us a while, you'll remember we dug into how AI demand is starving the rest of the market of memory and pushing suppliers to favour deep-pocketed clients. That's exactly the bottleneck. ByteDance is trying to pre-negotiate around, a while back, we called this the AI tax HBM hogging capacity and crowding out standard DRAM. Now, the real linchpin in all of this is something called high bandwidth memory, or HBM. Think of it as the super fast lane memory that AI chips need to function at top speed. The problem? It's incredibly scarce. Major producers are reportedly sold out through 2025. Interestingly enough, Samsung is one of the few companies that makes both the AI chips and the HBM. By offering a bundled package deal, they can guarantee ByteDance a stable supply of these critical components, creating an almost unbeatable advantage. That's especially potent in a market where, as we discussed, HBM soaks up roughly 3 times the manufacturing resources of DDR5, and even gaming hardware makers have been getting squeezed. But that's not the whole picture. The sheer scale of this ambition is backed by a jaw-dropping number. ByteDance is reportedly planning to spend over 160 billion yuan, or $22 billion, on AI-related procurement this year. To put that in perspective, more than half of that budget is still allocated to buying chips from the current market leader, NVIDIA, even as ByteDance develops its own alternative. Now, spending billions on NVIDIA while building your own chip might sound counterintuitive, but it's actually a brilliant dual-track strategy. After all, not all AI chips do the same job. The super expensive NVIDIA GPUs are the gold standard for training massive new AI models from scratch, but ByteDance's custom chip is likely designed for inference, the much more frequent and high-volume task of actually running the AI, like powering TikTok's recommendation feed. This distinction is crucial. By using their own custom, cost-effective chips for inference, they can save a fortune, while still relying on NVIDIA for the heavy lifting of training. It's a hedge, a cost-saving measure, and an admission that for now, NVIDIA is still irreplaceable for the cutting edge. This move is a clear strategy to break free from reliance on outside suppliers and navigate US export controls, a challenge facing many Chinese tech companies. It's a race for self-sufficiency that puts ByteDance in the same league as Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, who are all developing their own in-house AI chips. And remember, we recently highlighted projections that AI data centers could swallow the majority of global memory capacity within a couple of years, and warnings that shortages could persist. So locking in supply now is the logical play. However, the official narrative is a bit murky. When asked about this in-house chip project, a ByteDance spokesperson stated the information was inaccurate, without elaborating further. Samsung declined to comment entirely. While the company is officially denying the specifics, the reported $22 billion war chest tells the real story. ByteDance is making an undeniable high-stakes play to control its own technological destiny in the artificial intelligence revolution, very much in line with the broader supply scramble we've been tracking, where securing memory comes first and explanations come later. Speaking of tech giants making massive high-stakes plays, Amazon is now at the center of a completely different kind of controversy. A Super Bowl ad about finding a lost dog has ignited a firestorm, with Senator Ed Markey declaring, "This definitely isn't about dogs, it's about mass surveillance." The ad was for Amazon Ring's new search party feature, which uses AI to scan entire neighborhoods for a missing pet. But critics and privacy experts immediately sounded the alarm, warning that the same technology used to identify dogs could easily be turned into a tool to track humans. Now, on the surface, this seems straightforward, but actually the AI used for recognizing your lost golden retriever is technically very different from the AI used for human facial recognition. Pet recognition models are trained to look for things like body shape, size, and fur patterns. In contrast, human facial recognition, like the systems used by Facebook or Google, are incredibly complex, built to analyze the tiny, subtle variations in human faces. So you can't just flip a switch and have the dog finder AI start identifying people. The bigger fear isn't about the current times technology. It's about the massive network of cameras being built and what at times could times become. The fears are centered on a key partnership. The Amazon-owned Ring is teaming up with Flock Safety, a surveillance tech company that has reportedly allowed ICE to access data from its own nationwide camera network. This connects Ring's massive residential camera network to an organization with direct ties to law enforcement surveillance. So let's unpack that partnership with Flock Safety. The company's business model puts its customers, often local police departments, in control of the data. Flock says it doesn't share data with federal agencies like ICE without customer consent. But here's the loophole. Local agencies can, and in some cases have, granted access to federal entities. We've seen reports from states like Illinois and Colorado where local police shared license plate data with networks accessible to ICE, sometimes in violation of state laws. This setup effectively creates a backdoor, a legal and technical pathway where data from a neighborhood watch tool could end up in a federal database. And the scale of Ring's network is what makes this so significant. As of 2025, Ring holds a 10% share of the entire consumer security camera market. For context, that puts it ahead of competitors like Arlo and Google Nest. This isn't just about a few cameras. It's about a dominant nationwide web of interconnected private surveillance devices. Ring insists the feature is only for dogs and is not capable of processing human biometrics. A spokesperson stated, "These are not tools for mass surveillance," but the rabbit hole goes deeper. While Ring's separate facial recognition feature is opt-in, this new search party network is enabled by default on outdoor cameras, scanning footage automatically. This opt-out default is a critical detail. It's all about creating what's called a network effect. The more cameras that are actively scanning, the more powerful and effective the search party network becomes. By making it the default setting, Ring instantly creates a much larger and more valuable data collection network, which is great for finding lost pets, but also builds a far more powerful surveillance infrastructure without users ever having to actively agree to it. This all begs the question, what is the real endgame? Ring's founder, Jamie Siminoff, recently stated he believes this kind of AI-powered technology could be used to virtually zero out crime within a year. That is a bold, almost utopian claim, but let's ground this in reality for a second. We've already seen attempts at this with so-called predictive policing systems, and the results have been very controversial. For example, a 2023 analysis of one system found that less than half of 1% of its crime predictions were accurate. In Chicago, a study of the ShotSpotter gunshot detection system found that over 90% of its alerts led to no evidence of a gun-related crime. This history shows that a zero-crime vision powered by AI is not only technically difficult but also riddled with potential for error and bias. While Ring says it has no plans to create a search party for people, the company is building a powerful AI-enabled camera network with the stated goal of eliminating crime. History has shown that tools capable of large-scale surveillance are rarely limited to their original stated purpose. That question of a tech company's responsibility to society is also exploding inside the biggest firms. A new kind of silence is falling over Silicon Valley. Keep your head down, shut up, and focus on the mission. That's the message tech workers at Google, Microsoft, and YouTube say they are getting from their leadership amid a deadly immigration crackdown. While CEOs at the world's biggest tech companies remain publicly silent, federal agents have killed at least 8 people so far this year, sparking nationwide protests. Inside the tech giants, employees describe a fear-based culture, with one Microsoft worker saying, "Dissent is now just a whisper." A while back, we analysed how Washington has been sending mixed signals on AI oversight. The Senate went 99-1 against a blanket ban on state-level regulation, while the administration's AI action plan warned that AI is far too important to smother in bureaucracy at this early stage. That tug-of-war has left companies to draw their own ethical lines in grey areas, and that vacuum is exactly what workers are challenging right now. A key factor fueling this fear is the immigration status of many tech workers. A significant portion of the tech workforce is made up of H-1B visa holders whose legal status in the country is tied directly to their employer. With recent policy changes and increased scrutiny, speaking out could jeopardize not just their job, but their ability to even remain in the United States. This creates a powerful chilling effect that serves both corporate interest in a compliant workforce and government interest in controlling dissent. This is a stunning reversal from just a few years ago, when 4,000 Google employees successfully protested a Pentagon deal called Project Maven. So what changed? Continuing our last discussion about the split between safety-first voices and accelerationists inside big tech, this moment is another flare-up. And here's the plot twist we covered a while back. Research shows that by 2025, Google quietly updated its AI principles, removing the specific language that prohibited work on weapons and surveillance, paving the way for exactly these government deals. Well, the entire power dynamic has shifted. Tech companies have gotten much more aggressive about controlling internal information and have been caught monitoring employee communications. More importantly, they've shown they are willing to punish dissent. In 2024, for example, Google fired 28 employees for protesting its Project Nimbus contract. Employees have even been quoting Google's own chief scientist, Jeff Dean, "We all bear a collective responsibility to speak up and not be silent," turning leadership's words back on leadership. When you combine that with the massive layoffs we've seen across the industry, it creates a climate where even highly paid workers are afraid to risk their jobs. Instead of pushing back, many tech leaders are now cozying up to the Trump administration, dining at the White House, donating to a pro-Trump super PAC, and even launching new AI products specifically for government and military use. In a policy vacuum, like the one we discussed, courting Washington isn't a side note, it's a strategy. And we're not talking about hypotheticals here. Companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, who talk a lot about AI safety, have launched government-specific products called ChatGPT Gov and Claude Gov. These are designed to be used in classified government environments for national security work. As we've discussed before, that safety-first rhetoric versus accelerationist push keeps colliding, and this is it in practice. But now, a new rebellion is growing from within. A petition demanding tech CEOs call for ICE to leave cities has over 2,000 signatures from employees at Microsoft, Google, Meta, Amazon, Apple, and Palantir. A few days ago, we mentioned a similar letter. Workers, including employees at OpenAI, urging leaders to cancel all ICE contracts after a fatal federal shooting in Minneapolis. Today's petition follows that coordinated, industry-wide playbook, with groups like the Tech Workers Coalition helping connect efforts across firms. Inside Google specifically, workers are also pressing for disclosures of every CBP and ICE contract, full divestment from those partnerships, an emergency internal Q&A on government work, and safety measures for employees who may interact with those agencies. The frustration is boiling over. One anonymous YouTube employee put the question to leadership directly: are you on the side of democracy or are you on the side of terrorizing our populace? Where do you stand? And here's a stark example of this selective outrage in action. Research shows that when tech CEOs feel their own economic interests are at stake, they absolutely will speak up. When the Trump administration considered sending the National Guard into San Francisco, where the tech industry makes up 41% of the city's GDP, tech leaders reportedly intervened directly and got the plan reversed. But for cities like Minneapolis, where their economic footprint is smaller, silence. This reveals a clear hierarchy of which places they consider critical versus expendable. The most searing criticism comes from an industry insider. OpenAI's head of global business, James Dyatt, posted a statement that reveals everything about the current tension. He wrote, "There is far more outrage from tech leaders over a wealth tax than masked ICE agents terrorizing communities and executing civilians in the streets. Tells you what you need to know about the values of our industry." While the established giants are dealing with internal rebellion, the new generation of AI startups is fighting a very different kind of war, an all-out battle for attention. A startup just paid a cowboy $3,500 to gallop up to the Wall Street Bull and lasso its horns in front of a crowd. This wasn't a movie scene, it was a product launch. And that's just the appetizer. In a separate event, another AI CEO walked on stage topless to deliver a presentation, arguing that most AI models leave users feeling exposed. These aren't isolated incidents, they're the new playbook in the war for AI dominance. The market is drowning in a sea of sameness with more than 90,000 AI companies worldwide, all fighting for a piece of a massive prize. To understand this frenzy, you have to look at the technology itself. The reason for this sea of sameness is that many of these startups aren't building their own unique AI from scratch. Research shows that a huge number, something like 73% of funded AI startups, are actually using APIs from major players like OpenAI and Anthropic. They're essentially wrapping these powerful existing models in a new user interface. So while they look different on the surface, the core engine is often the same. This is the commoditization crisis that's forcing them to get so creative with marketing. In 2025 alone, AI startups raised a staggering $2.3 billion globally. That's nearly double the year before. That flood of cash creates its own set of problems. With so much money available, the pressure isn't just to build a good product, it's to grow at an insane speed. This leads to what we call high burn rates. One report found that the median AI startup was burning about $5 for every $1 of new revenue it generated. You know, that's the kind of pressure that leads to desperate measures. With that much money on the line, the pressure is immense. Marketing experts say founders are trapped in a land grab mentality, desperate to seize attention before a rival does. As one consultant put it, these companies are terrified that no one's going to notice them. This isn't just about getting likes on LinkedIn. For the startup, Lunos, the cowboy stunt was an immediate success. Their website traffic exploded, and in the 3 months that followed, their sales pipeline was filled with hundreds of qualified prospects. The publicity even triggered an influx of job applications from McKinsey consultants, but the billion-dollar question remains, does a viral stunt actually close a multi-million-dollar deal with a serious company? Believe it or not, when it comes to enterprise software, the sales cycle can take 6 to 18 months. The people signing the checks, the CFOs and CTOs, are less impressed by theatrics and more concerned with reliability, security, and return on investment. In fact, research shows that 87% of B2B software buyers say reading user reviews and case studies is extremely important. They want proof, not just a spectacle. The theatrics are a direct response to a hyper-competitive market where traditional advertising no longer cuts through the noise. In the gold rush for AI supremacy, the strategy is shifting from simply building the best product to creating the most unforgettable spectacle. And this isn't the first time we've seen this movie. This escalation pattern is a classic sign of a tech bubble. Think back to the dot-com era with its sock puppet mascots in Super Bowl commercials for companies that had no profits. Or the crypto boom with celebrities endorsing digital coins. History shows that when companies start spending more on extravagant marketing than on building a sustainable business, a market correction often isn't far behind. The question is whether AI will follow the same path. That gold rush mentality we were just talking about is now sending shockwaves through the established software world. triggering what some are calling a SaaS apocalypse. A French software giant just had a day so bad, trading had to be briefly suspended. Shares of Dassault Systèmes plummeted as much as 21%, putting the stock on track for its worst trading day ever before, settling around an 18% loss. A while back, we talked about a broader software Mageddon in tech stocks today. Dassault is the latest flashpoint. Now, you might be thinking an 18 to 21% drop? That kind of overreaction points to a fascinating and brutal truth about the market. Research shows that European tech companies often trade at lower valuation multiples compared to their US counterparts. For example, in recent years, US tech companies were acquired at an average of 34% higher multiples than European firms. This suggests investors have a little less confidence and a lot more skepticism. So when a European leader like Dassault stumbles, the punishment is swift and severe. And as we've said before, selling can beget more selling. So what was the bombshell? The company reported that its software revenues dropped 5% in the final 3 months of the year. For the full year, total revenue was flat, coming in at a weaker than expected 6.24 billion euros and missing analyst expectations. For a company of this size, flat is the new down. We've noted a while back this isn't a .no com-style washout of hype. It's profitable incumbents getting repriced as their models meet AI era headwinds. Now, this isn't just a Dassault problem. What we're seeing is a major inflection point across the entire enterprise software industry. Continuing our last discussion about AI colliding with the per seat, per user model that made these firms so valuable, the twist now is that pricing itself is changing. A recent report from Alex Partners predicts that by 2026, a huge chunk of software revenue, up to 40%, will come from new hybrid pricing models based on usage and outcomes, not just paying per person. This shift is forcing many companies to suddenly and dramatically cut their growth forecasts. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. We previously analysed how that panic spread under the Software Armageddon banner. The latest development is that it's no longer just US. Names taking the hit. This European bellwether is feeding the same fears. This isn't just about one bad quarter for one company. This massive sell-off is being called the latest example of the SaaS apocalypse. A senior investment advisor told CNBC there is, quote, a real concern right now around some of those winners that led the charge last year. And SaaS apocalypse is not an exaggeration. The scale of this is immense. In the week this news broke, the entire S&P 500 software and services index dropped nearly 5%. That single drop wiped out $830 billion in market value. Other giants like Thomson Reuters also saw their stock fall by double digits. We saw this playbook a while back when names like RELX and Thomson Reuters were hammered in that earlier wave. The same pressure is back. The core of the issue, the looming shadow of new artificial intelligence, the market is spooked that new AI tools, like those from Anthropic, are triggering a major reevaluation of the entire software as a service industry. As we discussed, Claude's massive context window lets it handle heavyweight tasks, code migration, IT issue resolution, ingesting huge code bases that many SaaS platforms have long monetized. That's a structural challenge, not just a sentiment wobble. Think about it. This is a direct threat to Dassault's core business. Its most famous products, like SolidWorks and Acacia, are highly specialized tools for engineers and designers. The fear is that new AI native competitors could completely bypass that. We're seeing startups develop AI agents that can generate complex engineering designs from simple text prompts, potentially making the traditional manual 3D modeling workflow obsolete. And as we noted a while back, advancing AI agents are moving from demos into real workflows, draining traditional moats. Remember when Klarna replaced a massive stack of third-party SaaS tools with its own AI platform? That was an early red flag. Even the CEO's talk of leading an industrial AI transformation couldn't stop the bleeding. Part of the worry is the AI dumb pipe risk we flagged. If incumbents just wrap a powerful foundation model, the value can leak to the AI provider while the software layer gets commoditized. So what about that industrial AI push? Dassault is making a huge bet that's different from the consumer AI everyone is talking about. They've partnered with NVIDIA to build a platform that combines their virtual twin technology with AI. The goal is to create incredibly detailed, science-backed digital models of entire factories and supply chains to optimize them. It's a B2B strategy focused on manufacturing and industry. That's their attempt to stay above the dumb A pipe trap by owning a vertical, sciences-grade virtual twin stack. but the market right now is rewarding consumer-facing AI, which is why investors seem unimpressed with this long-term industrial vision. Analysts at UBS were blunt, calling the report a weak finish and a weak guide. Ultimately, this kind of pressure often leads to big strategic moves. Dassault had set a long-term goal to grow at least 7% per year. But after this report, analysts say the company now needs to grow between 8.2 and 8.9% in the coming years just to catch up. The company is now facing an even steeper climb, all while the ground is shifting beneath its feet. For the tech industry, it signals a period of intense competition and likely an accelerated pace of mergers and acquisitions as companies scramble to adapt to this new AI-driven world. A few days ago, we said that this kind of pressure can kick off a consolidation wave. Today's guide makes that outcome more likely, not less.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.